Oh, there was no way. It was no way in hell that somebody like me was gonna stay quiet about something like this. What's going on? It's your boy Bowie here, aka the glaciologist, aka the sub scientist, aka a very excited but apprehensive Mortal Kombat fan. Why? Because we have this Mortal Kombat Legacy collection. You know. So nah, let me keep playing it. So yesterday, courtesy of the PlayStation Play, we got news of this right here. NRS is releasing an arcade collection. Look at that. It's called Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and Mortal Kombat 4. You have no idea how happy I am that something like this is finally coming out for fans. You know what I'm saying? Because this right here represents my childhood and even young adulthood or teenagehood, if there is such a thing. But you know what I'm saying? Because I was playing all these games not only while I was in elementary school, but ever since then. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I already have all these games. I have the arcade versions of these titles that I play through MAME and emulators and stuff like that. But this right here is crazy because you're gonna have the ability to play classic titles. So they're gonna have the arcade, console, and handheld editions. Let me explain to y'all why that's significant, because it dawns on me that quite a few of y'all are new, relatively new. And what I mean by that is you didn't grow up playing these classic titles. Your first Mortal Kombat was probably Deadly Alliance or Deception, or you grew up with Shaolin monks or something like that. So when y'all were kids, Mortal Kombat was well established already. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, Mortal Kombat had just splashed onto the scene. And Mortal Kombat, first and foremost, was an arcade mainstay classic game in every sense of the word. The whole design of that game was to take your damn quarters at the arcade. Now, I don't have like memories of going to the arcades and being surrounded by people that all want to play. I was a little too young for that. But I was the generation right after. So I was there when a lot of these titles were coming to consoles, which at the time would have been Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, stuff like that. But at that time, the arcade versions of Mortal Kombat were the definitive versions. They were the best ones. They had all the sound clips. They had all the special effects. They had the best graphics. And then the console versions played second fiddle because they weren't as powerful as the arcades at the time. So them having those, this right here, let me get to that. Them having the various versions of the game actually means quite a bit, because you'll see that there's differences between the console versions of Mortal Kombat games and the arcade versions. Lots of little differences. Sometimes the differences are small. Sometimes, character viability is different between console and an arcade. But this right here is huge. You're going to be able to play classic Mortal Kombat with rollback netcode. That is bananas. Also, this is a really cool scene to see Ed Boon and John Tobias, the creators of Mortal Kombat, playing together in a commercial like this. Now, when we first seen the trailer, the first trailer on the PlayStation, or for the PlayStation Play, you'll notice that all these are included now in this version. But all before it was just PS5, PS4, so it made it look like it was just a PlayStation exclusive, and I was very worried about that. I was about to come on here and be like, "Hey, man, I don't like this. I don't like the fact that it's now console exclusive and shit like that." That's not it. But it's not console exclusive. It's across all the platforms, and I want you to notice they're even including it for the PS4. That means this shit is gonna sell crazy. It just says Xbox, so Xbox One, Xbox, whatever Xbox is out there, you'll be able to get this for it. Period. And of course, you'll be able to get it on PC, which is the way the good Lord Jesus intended. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. So, as you might have already guessed, I'm quite excited for this. And the reason why I'm quite excited for this is very straightforward. As I just got done saying, it dawns on me that a lot of the community has not grown up with these games right here. See, my first Mortal Kombat was the original Mortal Kombat 1. So I remember how everything was. I burned thousands of hours playing that game, just beating the computers over and over and over again. And then when I got the chance to play against people, I would play against people. But it was a very solo experience because unless you were at the arcade every day, you didn't get a chance to play people very much, because once people play you in Mortal Kombat and they find out they can't win, they don't play you no more. You know what I'm saying? So now the idea of being able to play this online against people, against millions of people all across the world, is actually phenomenal. You know, I am very, very, very excited about this. I do have some concerns, though. I do have some concerns. One concern that I have, and obviously this is probably the biggest concern, but one concern that I have is the original Mortal Kombats, the first three, up to MK4 actually, they all ran at 54.07 frames per second. They did not run at 60. They ran at 54. And you might not think that 6 frame difference means a whole lot, but it does. I will tell you right now, it means a hell of a lot, because what happens is when you go to move and react and shit like that, it's not as smooth of an experience. When it's playing at its native frame rate, it drags. And this is especially true in Mortal Kombat 1. It's ridiculous, actually. So, one concern that I have is, will we be able to adjust the frame rate? You know, particularly when you go to play online, is it going to play at that native 54.07, or is it going to be at 60 frames per second? On PC, will we be able to adjust it? I'm thinking we'll probably, I'm hoping that at a bare minimum, they speed it up to 60 frames per second. Because that's what it should have always been at. That's the standard now. And honestly, it was kind of the standard back then, but this game, you know, Midway wanted to be very different than Capcom. They didn't want this to be a Street Fighter clone, so they did everything possible to distinguish this from Street Fighter. And they did. And they did. Which is why when I hear people ask for Street Fighter mechanics to be brought into Mortal Kombat, it makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Not because there's something wrong with Street Fighter, but because this title made its bones by not being Street Fighter. So asking it to copy Street Fighter now is just antithetical to what this game is. But anyway, so yeah, that's one concern that I definitely have. Also, are they going to be doing any kind of adjusting to some of these characters? Because there are certain characters in certain games that are kind of fucked up. some of them are like the tier lists are about to be, you know, very polarizing because, like, for instance, I know that in the original Mortal Kombat 1, Sonya is like the bona fide number one. And that's because she has an infinite with her leg grab and sweep. Are they gonna, like, what are they gonna do about some of that stuff? Like, because if you're gonna have, you know, people playing online in these games that are not competitive, or that were never made to be competitive, are they gonna patch those games? Can they even patch the games? Like what do you do? Because I'm just thinking ahead to, you know, certain versions of the game having broken shit, and I don't want a situation where, you know, you go to play Mortal Kombat 2 online and it's nothing but Melinas and Jaxes. That's all you fight because everyone else is not worth picking. You know what I'm saying? And I use Melina and Jax for a reason because those characters are like top tier. You know. By the way, this is where I get my phrase "stay froze" from. I got it from MK2. It's also where I got my defensive play from, because you gotta be very reactive and try to bait the opponent to do some shit so that you can fuck them up, you know. But anyway, so yeah, that's another concern that I have is, competitively speaking, what the fuck are we doing? Because, like, UMK3, certain characters are busted in that game. Characters like Noob Saibot, like Smoke, you know, shit like that. And I imagine, like, if it were up to me, I would be like, well, look, we gonna have to do something about some of these characters. Some of them, you know what I'm saying? Certain mechanics are kind of dumb, so, you know, I don't know. So I am concerned about that. No lie. But I'm probably about 10% concerned and 90% excited and hyped because, especially coming off the heels of Mortal Kombat 1, the addition of the Legacy Collection, or whatever the name is, I forgot the name right now, but having this Legacy Collection of Mortal Kombat titles, classic MK titles, and it's being made available on all platforms pretty much, that's a humongous way to explode the Mortal Kombat community. It's so smart. It's so smart, particularly, like I said, for those younger fans, or maybe people, maybe they're not even young, they just didn't get a chance to ever get their hands on Mortal Kombat 2 growing up like I did. Like, because I know from my personal journey, I actually played them out of order. Like, my first Mortal Kombat was Mortal Kombat 1 for the Super Nintendo. You know, the one that didn't have no blood in it. Yeah, that was my first Mortal Kombat. And then I had a friend who had Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, also for Super Nintendo. But we would always play MK3 because we could never have access to MK2. Because her brother would just, I guess he would just keep some of the games in his room. And, you know, so, yeah. Every now and again we got to play MK2, but it was mostly MK3. So I would play Mortal Kombat 1 and then Mortal Kombat 3. Then I did get them in order pretty much after that, but I had to go back when I was a teenager and buy Mortal Kombat 2 for the Super Nintendo. And then go back and play it as a teenager to really appreciate it. You know? But I love Mortal Kombat 2, as you can see. Like, I think it's the perfect sequel. You know. Mortal Kombat 2 took literally everything that people loved about Mortal Kombat 1 and expanded it, which is why I think it's the perfect game to model whatever new Mortal Kombat they're following up with. It needs to be the sequel to all the NRS Mortal Kombat titles. Take the good shit of all the Mortal Kombats and put it all together. As a matter of fact, hell, the Legacy Collection can sort of be a template of how the next Mortal Kombat should be, because like invariably there's gonna be people that they might play the first Mortal Kombat 1 and they're gonna be like, I don't think I like this one all that much. I prefer MK2 or MK3. Or you're gonna have people like, Ketchup and Mustard, who their favorite MK is MK3, so they may not even play MK1 and 2 because Sector and Cyrax ain't in it. You know what I'm saying? So whatever game that certain people want to play, they can play that game. But all the Mortal Kombat people are still playing that same collection. They're just not playing the same game within that collection. And so I think the next Mortal Kombat should have various modes. Have MK9 mode, have an MKX mode, have an MK11 mode, have a cameo mode. All under the umbrella of the same game. You have the same base characters, base designs, and then you just add shit to those other modes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that way the MKX people that want to play Unga Bunga and shit, they want to have the variations and all that, they can play that mode, and the rest of us can leave their ass alone. You feel me? Like, no shade to MKX, but I'm just saying, like, that's not the way I want to play Mortal Kombat. And it would be nice if people could play MK in their own way, since we've already gone down the rabbit hole of making Mortal Kombat amorphous. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm getting at there. But as you can see, there's a lot of legacy to draw from. Like, those of you that did not grow up with these games, you can see why us older fans mark out over these MK2 costumes and shit like that. Like, there's a reason why the MK2 costume appeared as DLC in MK9. It didn't pop up in MKX, but they did do UMK3, and them shits look horrible. But anyway, but it popped up in MK9, popped up in MK11. We didn't get MK2 versions of the ninjas, the male ninjas, but we damn sure got it for the girls, and them shits look great. But there's a reason why the ninjas always get their classic outfits in these games, because this is how we grew up playing as them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was Sub-Zero for a large part of my childhood right here. Then, of course, in Mortal Kombat 3, they made his ass look like David Hasselhoff, but that's okay. You feel me? Like, And then in damn MK Deadly Alliance, his ass looked like, what's that man's name? He looked like Agent K from Men in Black. I forget that actor's name. Tommy Lee Jones, that's his name. There you go. I always thought, Deadly Alliance Sub-Zero looked like Tommy Lee Jones. But anyway. So yeah. And as you can see, these games were cheap as fuck. I'm talking about the gameplay was very cheap on behalf of the computers. You talking about input reading? You talking about hack cheating? You talking about hitbox problems out the wazoo? God damn. This game had all that. Bugging the fuck out. And I think younger fans do need to experience this. They need to experience the cheating nature of this game. Like, you can see that fucking Kentaro's able to block my jump kick and then grab me out of the goddamn air, which shouldn't even be possible. But he can do it for some reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some... I don't know. Oh God. Well, yeah, like, you know. But I'm quite excited because, I think the entire community could stand to benefit from a collection like this, especially ones that contain the arcade versions of these titles. Like, I'm very excited. I'm actually very excited to play the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 4. Like, what the fuck? Like, you don't even get to play that version no more because that was the last MK title to be offered in arcades. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, really is. And so I do want to experience that. Now, I do wonder what they're going to do graphics wise with these games. Like, I'm hoping, particularly with MK4, that they like smooth shit out and like dramatically upscale the graphics. Like, they, I feel like that's absolutely necessary. And then, of course, for the classic titles, they got to upscale them graphics too as much as possible. But, as long as the games feel familiar and they play well, like, that's the main thing. Because I do remember there was a Mortal Kombat Deception version of MK1. I think it was for the PlayStation 2. And that game was super fast. It ran so smooth, but it was so crisp and clean to play. It was running at a really, really good ass frame rate for some reason. And I'm like, we didn't know that at the time. I just knew it felt different and better. And so I'm hoping that, these new versions of the classics play in this way. And then also, before I go, they did mention that they're adding some games to the collection as well. I'm very curious about that. My gut says MK Trilogy is probably going to be added. We could even see Mortal Kombat Mythologies and or potentially Mortal Kombat Special Forces, though I hope not. Being added to the collection, I don't know. It depends on what WB decides that NRS can do. And that's more than just a snarky ass comment. That's legit. Like, whatever WB says NRS can do, that's what's going to be added to the litany of games. But I do think Mortal Kombat Trilogy is planned because I didn't see that in there. Like, you can't have UMK3 and then not have Trilogy. Like, you got to do that. And I hope they add all the versions of MK Trilogy because there's massive differences between, the PlayStation version and the N64 version. Very, very stark differences, particularly with Sub-Zero. Of course, I would know that, but but yeah. But all in all, I'm excited as shit. I'm excited as a motherfucker. I'm gonna probably wind up buying it, even though I don't want to support WB after the bullshit they pulled with MK1. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really excited about supporting WB, but I am an MK fan, so it's gonna be very difficult for me to say no. Even though I already have these games, I'll still probably wind up copping anyway. Yeah. But yeah, with that being said, let me know how y'all feel in the comments below. Are y'all excited as I am? What other concerns do you have that I didn't raise? Let me know. I'll catch y'all later. Stay froze.